The sound of ceramic shattering on tile jolted Jordan Peterson from his study. He paused mid-sentence, pen hovering over the margin of a worn notebook, and glanced toward the kitchen. It was past 9, the hour when the house was usually still. He stood up slowly, his knees aching more than usual, and stepped into the hall barefoot on the hardwood. The clatter had been sharp, a small thing falling from a nervous hand. The housekeeper, Maria, was kneeling on the kitchen floor, her back to him, collecting shards of a broken mug. It had been one of his favorites, a gift from his daughter, with faded lettering that read, "Try again tomorrow." Her movements were rushed, like she didn't want to be seen. Her shoulders were trembling. Jordan watched in silence for a moment, unsure whether to speak or retreat. "Everything okay?" he asked, his voice careful, almost clinical. Maria froze. Slowly, she turned her head toward him, eyes wide and red-rimmed. Her dark hair was pulled tightly into a braid, and there was a streak of something, flour or maybe powdered sugar, along her cheekbone. "I'm so sorry, Doctor." "Peterson," she said quickly, avoiding his eyes. "I'll replace it. It's my fault." He took a step closer. "Forget the mug. Are you all right?" She nodded, too fast, too forcefully. Yes, I'm fine, just tired." He could hear the lie echoing under every word. But what caught his attention most wasn't her trembling or her apology. It was the way her hand pressed against her lower ribs as she stood. A small, almost invisible wince. Protective. Jordan tilted his head. "Did something happen?" "I'm fine," she repeated, too firmly this time. "I'm sorry. I need to finish the baking. The family you're meeting tomorrow, Mrs. Kalinsky, she's coming early." He didn't stop her, but he didn't return to his study either. That night, sleep evaded him. He sat in the den, watching the rain blur the city lights outside his window. Something about the way Maria had spoken, her insistence, the pain behind her eyes, unsettled him. At 5:42 a.m., she left. She didn't know he noticed, but he'd seen her slip out the side gate, her small frame hunched under a flimsy coat, the baking still unfinished. She didn't take her usual route toward the bus stop. She walked the opposite way, toward the overpass and the older neighborhoods beyond the freeway. It wasn't a decision he thought through logically. He just stood, grabbed his keys, and followed her. 15 minutes later, he stood at the edge of a cracked sidewalk, watching her slip through the gate of a dimly lit duplex. A man opened the door, not with love, not with warmth. His voice barked something indistinct. Then Maria flinched. Jordan clenched his fists, the air in his lungs suddenly too sharp to hold. Jordan didn't sleep that night. Even after returning home, the image of Maria flinching at the threshold of that crumbling duplex played on repeat in his mind. He hadn't seen what happened after the door closed, but he didn't need to. He'd seen enough of human suffering, written enough about trauma to recognize its shape even when cloaked in silence. The next morning, Maria arrived at 8:06 a.m., 4 minutes late. She was carrying a paper bag, the corner torn, revealing the edge of a foil-wrapped pie. "I'm sorry," she said before he could speak. "There was a delay. It's fine," he interrupted, softer than usual. "So do you want some coffee?" She blinked, clearly not expecting the offer. I have work to do," she said hesitantly. "It can wait 5 minutes." Maria followed him to the kitchen. Jordan poured 2 mugs and slid one across the counter. Her fingers curled around it slowly, as if unsure whether it was really meant for her. He didn't ask about last night. Instead, he watched her. She wore the same coat as before, now damp and smelling faintly of mildew. Her face was powdered with the lightest touch of makeup, but it couldn't mask the faint purple blooming under her right eye, hidden just enough beneath concealer and hair. "Maria," he began carefully, "how long have you worked here?" 6 months. "You've never been late." "I try not to be." He nodded, letting the silence stretch. "I followed you last night," he said finally. She froze. Her breath caught so audibly, it echoed in the quiet kitchen. "I wasn't trying to invade your privacy, but something felt wrong. I had to know if you were okay." Her voice, when it came, was nearly a whisper. "You shouldn't have." "Probably not." She didn't meet his eyes. "Is that man who opened the door, is he your partner?" Jordan asked. She nodded slowly. "Is he hurting you?" A long pause. "He wasn't always like this," she said, voice trembling. "He lost his job last year. Things got harder. I thought it was just stress, but it got worse, and now I don't know how to leave." Jordan leaned forward. "You don't have to explain, but you do have options. There are places." people. I can help." Maria stood suddenly, pushing the mug aside. "You don't understand, he has my son." The words hit like a brick wall. "He's with him now?" She nodded. "Liam, he's 4. He's the reason I go back. If I leave Liam." Jordan stared at her, heart pounding. The pieces were forming a shape now, a shape darker and deeper than he'd imagined. He swallowed hard. "Then we need to find a way to get him out." The next day, Maria didn't come in. No call, no message, just silence. Jordan stared at the untouched breakfast on his kitchen counter, his appetite drowned by a creeping sense of dread. He paced the house for hours, phone in hand, considering and discarding every possible action. He barely knew her last name. He had no legal right, no official connection, and yet he couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping away, that something was happening right now that couldn't be undone later. By 3 p.m., he was back in his car, retracing the path she had walked days earlier. The neighborhood looked worse in daylight, paint peeling from doors, cars left rusting in driveways, the smell of damp wood and cigarettes in the air. He parked half a block away, careful not to draw attention. The duplex was still there, slouched between 2 weedy lots. He approached the gate, his chest tight, pulse high. The door was ajar. He knocked once. No answer. "Maria!" he called out louder than intended. A tiny voice floated from inside. "Hello?" Jordan froze. It wasn't Maria. He stepped in cautiously. A boy sat alone on the living room floor, surrounded by empty chip bags and a tipped-over toy truck. He had dark curls and wide brown eyes, eyes that matched Maria's. His cheek was stained with juice, his shirt 2 sizes too small. "Hi there," Jordan said gently. "Are you Liam?" The boy nodded, watching him warily. "Where's your mom?" Liam looked toward the back room. "She cried this morning." He yelled. Jordan took a breath. "Is she here now?" Liam shook his head. "He took her, in the car." Tension locked up Jordan's spine. He crouched slowly to Liam's eye level. "Do you know how to call someone for help?" The boy hesitated. "Mom says not to touch the phone. He gets mad." Jordan pulled out his own. "It's okay, you didn't touch it, I did." He dialed a shelter he'd worked with years ago, one that specialized in domestic abuse cases involving children. The woman on the line didn't hesitate. She took down the address, assured him someone was coming, and warned him not to leave the boy alone. "Are you hungry?" Jordan asked Liam after hanging up. Liam nodded. He went to the kitchen and found a half loaf of bread and some peanut butter, made a sandwich with shaking hands, and brought it to the boy. Liam devoured it in silence. Sirens came 15 minutes later, quiet and controlled. A social worker stepped in with calm authority, crouched beside Liam, and began asking soft questions. Jordan stepped back. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Don't get involved again, she's mine, so is the kid." His blood ran cold. He handed the phone to the officer. "We need to find her. Now." Maria sat in the passenger seat, silent. Her hands were folded tightly in her lap, fingers white from pressure. The man driving, Angel, hadn't spoken since they left the duplex that morning. Just gripped the wheel with one hand, the other resting near his leg, twitching every time she moved. Her left eye throbbed. He hadn't hit her, yet, but his anger brewed beneath the surface like a storm. She recognized the signs, the pulsing jaw, the tapping foot, the long stretches of silence broken by sudden, sharp commands. They were headed west, toward the outskirts of the city. "Where's Liam?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "He's fine," Angel replied curtly. "Where?" "Don't worry about it." Her throat tightened. The last time he'd said those words, she'd found Liam locked in the closet for an hour, to teach him not to talk back. "I need to see him." "You'll see him when I say you can." They drove on in silence. When they finally pulled into the cracked parking lot of a rundown motel, she knew what this was. A warning, a punishment for letting someone get too close, for letting herself be seen. Angel booked the room while Maria sat still in the car, eyes on the flickering motel sign, Paradise Inn. The irony wasn't lost on her. Inside the room, the air was stale. Cigarette smoke clung to the curtains. The bedspread was stiff and printed with faded tropical flowers. Angel threw his bag down and turned to her. "You told him, didn't you?" he asked. "Told who?" "The doctor." Her silence was enough. He laughed, dry, dangerous. "You think he can help you?" She said nothing. Angel crossed the room in 2 steps and grabbed her wrist. "You think you're smarter than me?" She didn't flinch. Not this time. "You touch me again," she said, her voice steady. "And I swear—" "What? You'll run? You already tried that. Where did it get you?" Her lip trembled despite herself. He let go, disgusted. "You're lucky I didn't bring the kid here, but if you make another mistake—" He left the sentence unfinished. She lay awake all night on top of the stiff bedspread, staring at the ceiling. Her mind kept circling the same thought. Jordan knows. He saw Liam. He read the message. Maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't stop. Just before dawn, she snuck into the motel bathroom, locked the door, and opened the toilet tank. Hidden beneath the lid, wrapped in a plastic grocery bag, was a tiny prepaid phone she'd hidden weeks ago. A backup plan. With trembling fingers, she powered it on and sent a single message to the only number saved. "I'm at Paradise Inn, room 12. Please, just get my son out." She turned the phone off, put it back, and flushed the toilet to cover the sound. Then she prayed. Not for herself, for Liam. The message came through at 4:12 a.m. Jordan was already awake, pacing his living room with a cold cup of coffee in hand. He checked the screen, heart jumping as he read the words. "I'm at Paradise Inn, room 12. Please, just get my son out." No punctuation, no second message, but it was enough. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed his coat, keys, and the folder he'd compiled the night before. Notes, photos, the address, everything the social worker had asked for. He called her as he walked to the car. "Kristen, it's urgent. Maria just sent me a location. Paradise Inn, room 12. I'll dispatch someone. Is the child still at the duplex?" "I don't know," he said, "but I'm going there now." "Jordan, wait for us. Please." But he was already pulling out of the driveway. It was barely dawn when he arrived at the duplex again. The front yard was quiet, eerily so, no toys on the porch. The front door, once ajar, was now closed tight. He knocked once, then again. Nothing. He glanced at the neighbor's house across the street, peeling paint, satellite dish sagging. The blinds twitched. He walked over, knocked softly. A woman in her 60s peeked out, eyes cautious. "Sorry to bother you," Jordan said quickly. "I'm looking for a little boy. Liam. Lives next door. Have you seen him?" The woman's face hardened. "That man, Angel, left with the boy last night. Threw a fit before they left. Poor thing was crying. Where did they go?" She hesitated. "Didn't say. But he packed bags." Jordan's stomach dropped. "Thank you." He returned to the car and drove toward the motel. Please don't let them be gone. The Paradise Inn looked even worse in daylight. The neon sign buzzed faintly, one of the letters blinking. Jordan parked across the lot, scanning the windows. Room 12 had its curtain drawn, but there was a small crack. He approached slowly. Before he could knock, the door creaked open an inch. Maria's face appeared, pale and drawn. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she whispered. "I said I would." She opened the door wider. The room was dark and still smelled of cigarettes. Her bag was packed by the bed. "Liam's not here," she said quickly. "Angel took him. He thinks I don't know where, but I do." She held out a small scrap of paper. "He's hiding him with his cousin. 2 towns over in Riverside. I overheard him last night." Jordan took it. "How long ago did they leave?" 2 hours. Kristen's car pulled into the lot just then, followed by 2 officers. Maria flinched at the sight, but Jordan touched her arm gently. "They're here to help." For the first time in days, she nodded without hesitation. Jordan turned to the officers. "They've taken the boy. He's in Riverside. We need to go now." Maria looked up at him, eyes filled with something unfamiliar, hope. "Let's get your son back," he said. The drive to Riverside felt endless. Kristen rode up front with one of the officers, scanning maps and contact lists. Jordan sat in the back with Maria, who hadn't spoken since they left the motel. She clutched her seatbelt with both hands, lips pressed tight, eyes never leaving the road ahead. The address Angel's cousin supposedly lived at was tucked behind a liquor store and a used tire shop down a sun-bleached cul-de-sac lined with dying palm trees. As they pulled up, the air grew heavy with stillness. No birds, no traffic, just the sound of tires crunching gravel. The house was squat and sun-faded, with bars on the windows and a chain across the front gate. "This it?" the officer asked. Maria nodded once. Kristen spoke softly. "We'll go in first. If Liam's there, we'll get him out." Maria gripped Jordan's sleeve. "Please, don't let him cry alone." Jordan placed a hand over hers. "We won't." The officers approached the door. One knocked firmly. No answer. Again, louder this time. Still nothing. Then movement. A curtain shifting inside. A man peered out, saw the badges, and opened the door just wide enough to speak. "What do you want?" "Sir, we received a report of a child in potential danger. We need to speak with the occupants of the home. There's no kid here. We'll need to verify that." "You got a warrant?" Kristen stepped in. "Under emergency child welfare law, we have the right to conduct a wellness check. Either let us in, or we escalate." The man muttered something under his breath, then unchained the door. Inside, the place was dim and cluttered. Old furniture, TV playing static, food wrappers everywhere. Jordan's heart pounded as they stepped into a narrow hallway. Then came the sound, faint, fragile, a child's whimper. Kristen followed the sound to a small bedroom. The door was shut. She opened it slowly. Liam sat on a mattress on the floor, barefoot, holding a worn blanket. His face lit up when he saw Maria behind the officers. "Mama!" She rushed in, dropping to her knees, pulling him into her arms. The boy clung to her, sobbing into her neck. Jordan stood in the doorway, watching the reunion with a tight chest. Kristen turned to the officers. "We're taking him." "No argument here," the lead officer said. The man at the front of the house didn't protest when they left. He just shut the door behind them with a click. Outside, Maria held Liam close, whispering into his hair. "He didn't eat much," she said to Kristen. "And he gets nightmares." Kristen nodded. "We'll arrange everything, a safe house, support." Maria turned to Jordan. "I didn't think anyone would care enough to come." He shook his head. "You mattered long before you believed it." For the first time, she smiled. It was small, wounded, but real, and it stayed on her face all the way home. 2 weeks had passed. The guest house behind Jordan's property had never been used for more than storage. It had a small kitchen, a single bedroom, and walls that needed painting. But when Maria and Liam moved in, it became something else entirely. A beginning. The boy laughed now. Not often, not loudly, but enough to remind them he still had light inside. Jordan could hear him through his office window, chasing leaves in the garden, narrating imaginary adventures to a plastic dinosaur with a missing leg. Maria was healing slowly, as though each day let her breathe a little more freely. The bruises had faded, but some things deeper inside remained untouched. Still, she showed up each morning to help Jordan with housework, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. He noticed how she lingered at the sink, how her eyes didn't dart to the door every time someone knocked. Safety had changed her posture, her spine straighter, her voice less tentative. "You sleep okay?" Jordan asked one morning as they prepared breakfast side by side. Maria nodded. "Liam had a nightmare, but he went back down after a glass of warm milk." Jordan handed her a plate. "He trusts you. I hope he never forgets I came back." "You never left him," Jordan said. "Even when you were trapped, you stayed present for him. That matters." She gave him a long look. "Do you ever wonder what made you follow me that night?" "All the time," he admitted. "But I think the truth is, I saw a crack in someone's armor. And I've worn armor like that, I know how lonely it gets." Maria didn't respond at first, just nodded slowly. Later that afternoon, Kristen came by with paperwork, temporary custody for Maria, enrollment forms for a preschool near the house, a contact at a trauma counselor. "You're not alone in this," she told Maria. "You don't have to do everything by yourself anymore." After she left, Jordan found Maria sitting on the back steps, watching Liam draw in chalk across the stones. "He's drawing us," she said softly. "Me, him, and you." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "Me? He says you're the man who made the monsters go away." He sat beside her. "I didn't do much. You did something no one else ever had," she said. "How you listened, and then you stayed." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the wind ruffle the trees. Finally, Maria whispered, "Do you think people like me ever really start over?" He looked at her, the woman who had faced fear, who had fought for her son with nothing but her will, who still stood. "You already have." And for the first time, she believed it.